What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are ready to talk about the season ending for the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, the season is over. The season is kaput. The season is officially done. 23-19, the final score in the final game. Washington taking down the Cowboys. I don't know that anybody was particularly heartbroken about that. I don't know that anybody was particularly upset. But nevertheless, the game is over. The game is done. The season is over. The season is done. And we are here to talk about it. We are live in the Bleacher Report app. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa. I'm on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If you want to email me, you can do so, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. I'm doing what I can to also live stream this simultaneously in parallel on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. So I don't know if that is taking. If it's not, we'll definitely throw this up after the fact. But we are live in the Bleacher Report app, where I'll actually be live every single Tuesday and Thursday this coming year, or actually this year, not even this coming year. It's 2025. It's the first time I'm with you here in 2025. Obviously, today is Sunday, January the 5th. Every Tuesday, every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, as you can see on your screen. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. in Arizona. 4 p.m. Pacific time. I'm having people check for me if we are live on YouTube. But the plan is, I know the functionality exists. I'm doing what I can to make sure everything is working. But the plan is to be live in the Bleach Report app and on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel as well. I don't know if that's working today. Like I said, it is a bit of a test flight in that situation. Good way to start the year. But we're here to talk about the game, and we'll be talking about things concerning the Cowboys every Tuesday, every Thursday, obviously here in the Bleacher Report app and beyond as the year unfolds. I was going to say the season unfolds. I see you, Just a Fan 94 says YouTube is still showing a countdown. I don't know exactly why that is. Like I said, this is brand new, but working on fixing that. So I appreciate you checking for me, Just a Fan 94. Once again, the plan is to definitely have them air live simultaneously in the same places. But as far as today is concerned, Sunday, January the 5th, if it doesn't go live, if it doesn't work, we'll definitely fire it after the fact. I'm going to see if I can edit one last thing here while I'm here pushing it. I don't think I can, though. I think we're just stuck. So either way, I promise it will be up at some point. The YouTube audience will definitely be able to access this. But we're here in the Bleacher Report app right after the season ended for the Cowboys. They finished the year 7-10. And I don't know that anybody was, like I said, bummed or upset that they lost to the Commanders. Sunday's game just felt like a process. Sunday's game felt like something they had to do. Sunday's game just felt like a formality. Sunday's game felt like, I don't know. I think we were probably more excited for it to end. I mean, just kind of, letting you behind the curtains, if you feel that they're curtains as a content creator. I didn't do some of the things that I normally do for a Dallas Cowboys game at our site at bloggingtheboys.com. As an example, I normally take a look at the matchups that NFL Pro offers and the projected statistics and things like that. And those things have some meaning, obviously, if you're still doing some fantasy or you're doing some prop betting or whatever the case may be. Some of it is just that this was a weird week because, we ended up seeing Trey Lance, play for the Cowboys and Marcus Mariota play in the second half for Washington. But this game was meaningless. And you can sit here and you can tell me that there's no meaningless games and you play to win and all that stupid stuff. And that's fine if you believe that. I don't mean to call your opinion on it stupid, but this game was meaningless. I think we were all excited for this to finally be over so we could fully and completely and totally look forward to the offseason without having to deal with this game as a barricade, as an impediment, as a block, as a whatever you want to call it. And so it's over now. And we could have been in a situation where the Cowboys won this game, but they did not, thankfully. And again, you can talk about how you want to win every game and how you don't root for losses and all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. But the Cowboys lost this game, and that is better for their draft position. And that is ultimately what we care about. We want the Cowboys at this point. Now we're in the offseason, people. You look at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, their fans are having to grapple with the reality as they're in overtime currently. It's 38-all, 5.5 minutes left. Between Atlanta and Carolina, and the Falcons are kind of swirling because they know that the Buccaneers won and they have nothing left to kind of deal with. And as soon as this game ends, it's no football for 9 months as far as regular season action is concerned. And we've been in that boat for a while. We've been kind of dealing with this reality for a while. And so again, I think that's what made this game kind of weird. All told, Trey Lance finished 20 of 34 for 244 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Rico Dowdle carried the ball 22 times. I see you, Charles Pearson says, oh my goodness. Sick Boy says, fire McCarthy and Mike Zimmer. This is why we lose. Bad coaching. If you, Sick Boy, are hating on Mike McCarthy's coaching in this game, then I think you need to come back to reality and come back down to earth. Again, there's a lot to work with relative to hating on Mike McCarthy if that's what you want to do. But this, if you're using this game to do anything, even to support a claim, a positive claim for Dallas or for Washington for that, maybe for Washington you can kind of do it. This is not necessarily the game to work with. I mean, again, for crying out loud, Trey Lance threw the ball 34 times in this game. That's the kind of game it was. On the other side of things, Jaden Daniels only had 12 pass attempts, did obviously only play the first half. Washington now, as we know, obviously is going to be the 6th seed by virtue of their win. So we know that the Philadelphia Eagles, we'll get the playoff picture up here in a moment here, that the Philadelphia Eagles will be hosting the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. Let me work on getting that up here. So that is our game log, if you want to call it that. Look, again, if you're rooting for Rico Dowdle or something to play well, 22 carries, 72 yards, I want that for you. Certainly, I want you to have what you want. I want you to have what you need. I want your favorite players to do well, but this game was meaningless. Just a Fan 94 asks in the chat, when was the last time Washington beat us at home? It feels like it's been a while. If I go through my memory, Just a Fan, they definitely did. The first one that came to mind was 2020. That was on Thanksgiving Day. If you recall, John Fossil had that horrible fake punt. The Cowboys were dealing with a tragedy at the time, but Washington did win. That was the original Washington football team, if you recall. In 21, Dallas beat them. In 22, Dallas beat them. In 20. So yes, 2020 was the last time the Commanders, the Washington franchise, ultimately won at AT&T Stadium. But the last time that the Commanders or the Washington franchise had played, and not just won, but played at AT&T Stadium in the season finale, like they just did, was 9 years ago, was in 2015, was the season finale. That was also a lost year for the Cowboys. That was their 12th game that they played without Tony Romo. Kellen Moore actually started that game at quarterback for Dallas, and they lost. He threw 435 passing yards. At the time, it was the 6th most passing yards that a Cowboys quarterback had ever had in a game. Dak Prescott has since toppled that a lot just because he's been in the NFL for a long time and has had some pretty boisterous games. But that being said, that was the last time they visited Dallas in a season finale and won. That was 9 years ago. Cool Love says the draft is not a guarantee. Look at the other teams who draft in the top 10 yearly. That's true, but it's a more workable asset than beating Washington in a meaningless Week 18 game. So I'm not sitting here and telling you, Cool Love, that the draft is a for sure can't miss proposition. But what I am telling you is that beating Washington in this game would have offered relatively nothing, especially if there is a turnover relative to the coaching staff. And we'll get to that in a moment here. But I did want to put the playoff picture up here shortly just so we can take a look. Now, there are obviously games taking place across Sunday afternoon, and it looks like the Panthers just beat the Atlanta Falcons. Goodness gracious, that is a tough way to go out if you're a Falcons fan. Floyd Bainham says not only that, but his play. Okay, you guys are still talking about Mike McCarthy. Again, if you want to pick on Mike McCarthy, go for it. But again, picking this game as your bright shining light to do so is a choice, to say the least. There are a lot of ways and reasons to hate on Mike McCarthy is my point. But that being said, so we know that Washington's going to be the 6th seed. In fact, all of this is pretty firmly entrenched, the NFC side of things, which I think we care about a little bit more as Cowboys fans. Obviously, the major thing to be figured out will happen later tonight when the Detroit Lions host the Minnesota Vikings. Winner of that game, obviously, gets the home field advantage, gets the first round bye, et cetera, et cetera. Loser is the 5 seed and will visit the Buccaneers, who just won the NFC South in the wild card round of the playoffs. I don't know why the Bucs aren't visible here. This is interesting. Here we go, in the hunt. So that's why it's here. But either way, so we've got Green Bay visiting Philadelphia. And I know we're here to talk about the Cowboys. And let me be very clear here, because I'm kind of setting up where we're going here. Nothing, absolutely nothing will make the fact that the Cowboys got destroyed, got obliterated, got trounced, got beat into oblivion by the Green Bay Packers so badly last year that they're still picking up the pieces from that. Nothing will make that better. But if the Packers were to go to Philadelphia and do the same thing to the Eagles, it can't hurt. The Cowboys, in case you don't remember, became the first 2 seed ever in NFL history to lose in the wild card round. Now, to be fair, it was only the third year of the 7 seeds existence last year. And the Cowboys were the first 2 seed. Of course they were, to lose to a 7 seed. So if the Eagles became the second, then again, be kind of funny. It'd be kind of interesting. So we're definitely rooting for the Packers, as gross and as icky as that sounds. That being said, though, everything for the Cowboys, now that this game is officially over, now that this game is in the rearview mirror, everything centers around what happens next. Everything centers around the Mike McCarthy decision. Everything centers around, will he be back? Won't he be back? Jerry Jones is obviously meeting with members of the local media right now following the team's season-ending loss. Let's see if there are any quotes from Jerry right away. Looking at tweets. There is a tweet from the Dallas Morning News' Calvin Watkins, waiting for the man. Let's put this tweet up on your screen so you can get a look at what I'm looking at here. This is the scene. In case you don't know, this is the scene right outside the Dallas Cowboys locker. Jerry Jones, again, maybe you don't know this, after the Cowboys and everybody goes in, they have their initial talk and setup and whatever the case may be. Jerry Jones is the first person who comes out and addresses everybody because, of course, he is. Why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't the coach or somebody else, be the first person who speaks to members of the media? Why wouldn't it be the owner? Just a fan 94 says anyone but the Eagles, even a Chiefs 3-peat is better. That's very well said. Okay, so we're still waiting on some Jerry Jones quotes because obviously that's going to be, the temperature setter for the conversation in the days to come. In case you are unaware, it's been well reported. The Bleacher Report app has done an amazing job, obviously, of documenting this over the course of the last 4 or 5 days at this point in time, basically in the entire new year. And I'm checking our YouTube feed, by the way. It is still not live. So don't know exactly what the problem is, but I promise I will fix it by Tuesday because, again, in case you didn't see at the beginning of things, I will be live every single Tuesday and Thursday throughout the year. 2025, the offseason, the summer, the season, the fall, the winter, when we spring forward and fall back, Christmas time, every single Tuesday and Thursday. And I can tell you right now, every single Dallas Cowboys game next year, obviously that will be, at varying times, but every single Tuesday and Thursday, starting this week, Tuesday, January the 7th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be live here in the Bleacher Report app talking all things Dallas Cowboys for 30 minutes. If you can't catch it live, I should say, you can always watch it on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel on demand, or you can watch it here in the Bleacher Report app on demand. If you follow me in the Bleacher Report app, right down below, you can access my feeds and access all of the live streams that I do here in the app. So that is one way to obviously kind of go about things. But we are, again, I would say 5 minutes away from Jerry Jones setting the temperature of things because this coming week is going to be all about Mike McCarthy watch. At the moment, as of 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday, January the 5th, there are 3 vacant head coach gigs in the NFL. We know, obviously, the New York Jets, the New Orleans Saints, and the Chicago Bears are looking for head coaches. We have seen and heard, and there's been reports about Mike McCarthy being connected to both the Jets job, a job that he interviewed for, by the way, the cycle before he ultimately got the Cowboys job, and the New Orleans Saints, an organization that he worked for very early on in his career. Granted, that was a long time ago. Mike McCarthy, was reported this past week, has his sights set on the Chicago Bears. Should he become available? Should he have options, or should he want to pursue options is maybe the best way to put that. I think that it goes without saying that right now the Chicago Bears are probably the best option available. If you are Ben Johnson or the hottest name on the market, whatever the case may be, I would venture to say that even if the Dallas Cowboys become available, that the Chicago Bears job is the sort of ideal spot to land. Maybe you're out on Caleb Williams, whatever the case may be. They still have a lot to work with. They have a rookie contract window to work with. They have a lot of tools, a lot of assets, a big market. Obviously, Dallas is a big market as well. That goes without saying. But I still think that there's no world that the Cowboys become the number one job outside of the fact that it was previously reported about a month ago now that somebody like Ben Johnson would maybe not necessarily want to work for the Cowboys because of the power structure that exists in the organization. All right, we're still waiting on quotes from Jerry Jones here. I would imagine that Jerry, in real time, as far as you and I are talking here, because if you've come back to watch this on demand, you're like, okay, I know what Jerry said at this point in time. But in real time, I would imagine that Jerry is offering some sort of speech or some sort of line of speaking or some sort of wisdom, if you want to believe in that, for the team. This was a very, very tough year, tough season for the Cowboys. Dash 10 months, is it months or MOS says, how would the Cowboys ever attract a top-tier coach if Jerry Jones is the owner and general manager? That's the point that I made. I agree with you. Whoever you are, if I'm right, as we kind of sit here, right, and we vamp a little bit and we wait for some Jerry Jones quotes, first of all, we have to wait for Jerry Jones quotes to know what the state of the Dallas Cowboys is, right? So that's one sort of impediment if you're the hottest name on the market. But second of all, we have to wait because we think in our heads, in our minds, that Jerry Jones is speaking to the team, right? If you're a head coach, if you're the hottest name on the market, like I said, why would you want that? Well, why would you want that in your life? Why would you want that dominating every single thing you're doing? By the way, I just firmly realized I had not fully seen this. The New England Patriots won, which took them out of the number 1 overall pick. Look, it can be bad. It is bad in a lot of ways. but it can always be worse for us as Dallas Cowboys fans. And I'm not saying that it's some sort of victory, like, hey, don't worry, we're all good here, blah, blah, blah. But it could be so much worse for the Dallas Cowboys, which, again, isn't some sort of consolation here, but is something to at least pay mind of. It's really all I'm saying. All right, so no Jerry Jones quotes yet. So let's get some things straight, some things in order, as Tankathon's website is now available. All right, give me a second here to put this on your screen. So we've got, we still have some games going on Sunday afternoon at the time that we're having this conversation. But the Cowboys obviously lost on Sunday to Washington. If you were upset about that, I truly apologize, but I'm happy about it relative to the long-term goals here, because the Cowboys moved up. The Cowboys began the day with the 13th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. That stock has improved. Dallas now sits at 12. We are obviously rooting for San Francisco to win this game. They just went up 3-0 over the Arizona Cardinals. As I said, that perhaps a sign of good things to come. We want the Cowboys. That is the highest, by the way, that Dallas can reach, that 11th overall pick. It's not a top 10 pick. The Dallas Cowboys did hold the 10th overall pick the last time they were this bad. That was 4 years ago in 2020, obviously. They then traded out of it. In case you forgot, they traded down from 10 to 12, where Dallas currently sits with the Philadelphia Eagles of all teams, and they landed Micah Parsons, who on Sunday, by the way, reached double-digit sacks for the 4th time in his career. He's been in the NFL for 4 years. Micah became the 5th player in NFL history to record double-digit sacks in each of the first 4 seasons of a player's career. Claude Humphrey was left out of the graphics and whatnot that Fox obviously had, because they went off of a time frame when sacks were an official statistic, which began in 1982. I'm not going to leave Claude Humphrey out. Claude Humphrey was a baller, so I'm going to go ahead and include him. So Micah's 5th as far as how I define this list. But there are some things that we are waiting on once again as the Cowboys sort of wait for Jerry Jones to speak. Here we go. Jerry Jones is speaking about Mike McCarthy as I get these things up on the screen for you, because now that the season is over, we can start talking about a lot of different things. I see you, Tony Marone, by the way, says no accountability, no discipline year after year. Failure, Mike McCarthy must go. I know that you see those things on the internet, Tony Marone, and so you think that they're real. I'm not necessarily fighting for or advocating that Mike McCarthy is awesome, but the idea that they have no discipline year after year is just, it's an empty thing to say. It's just you talking. I understand that you're frustrated, but the idea, again, penalties have been an issue for this team, but again, it's like you're making it out to be this mountain that it truly isn't ultimately. I saw somebody mention the list of free agents. So let's put this on the screen while we wait for Jerry Jones to tell us information about our favorite football team. What you're looking at here is an article that hasn't gone out yet that will technically go out in short order at blogontheboys.com. These are all of the free agents on the Cowboys roster, players who are set to become free agents, if that isn't obvious, in a couple of months now. We know Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks. I think that they're all probably gone. It would be awesome to have Zach or DeMarcus Lawrence back, but it's been over 10 years now since the Cowboys drafted them, so it's difficult to believe that they're coming back. I mean, just to be blunt about it. So Trey Lance is a free agent. UFA is an unrestricted free agent. Trey Lance, Eric Kendricks, Brian Anger, Jordan Lewis can certainly play for my football team. Linval Joseph, Cooper Rush. I think if Mike McCarthy's back, I would imagine that Cooper Rush is back. I don't think that that's necessarily the case for Trey Lance. Trent Sieg, CJ Goodwin, the Cowboys definitely need some special teamers, but CJ Goodwin might just be at the end of his rope there. Chuma Edoga, Osa Odighizuwa probably priced himself out of what the Dallas Cowboys are going to be willing and comfortable to pay. Rico Dowdle, I doubt is back, just because Rico kind of proved that you can find a lot of players to do that. Granted, what he did was impressive, and he deserves all the props and the accolades in the world for that. Chauncey Golston, Nick Vigil, Darius Harris, Amani Oruwariye, he of the muffed punt fame against the Cincinnati Bengals. Carl Lawson, who actually wound up serving as quite the impressive player for the Cowboys across this season. Carlos Watkins, Izzy Mukwamu rounds out the unrestricted free agents. Brock Hoffman is an exclusive rights free agent, which effectively means that it's about impossible for him to leave the team. So is Tyra Sweet and Wanye Thomas. Basically, if the Cowboys want those players back, there's nothing that can really prevent that. A little bit of a looser line of security exists on restricted free agents. Marquise Bell, Cavante Turpin are the players who that applies to. It would be wise for the Cowboys to get some things done there sooner rather than later, which is not their style, as we all know. It would also be wise of the Cowboys to consider some extensions sooner rather than later. Micah Parsons, my fellow Bleacher Report content creator, chief among them, the El Presidente, not to say. I would also offer that getting an extension done for Deron Bland would be wise. Getting an extension done for Tyler Smith would be wise. Those are all things that a forward-thinking front office would take care of. So I think you can tell me whether or not you think the Cowboys are going to ultimately do that over the course of this season. There are still no quotes coming out from the locker room session from Jerry Jones. There is a video from NBC5's Pat Doney, but I do not see any actual quotes yet. Jerry must be completely and totally going on one. While we wait, I'm doing what I can to vamp for Jerry, but he is pretty long-winded at certain times. This next thing is not officially set yet. But I'm going to show it to you anyway because I think it's important. I see you, Tony Marone says, team is clearly soft, no accountability. Let's hear an example of that, Tony Marone, since it's clear. It's been 4 years. You can't continue to reward a coach that fails when it matters the most. Don't defend an organization that is not committed to winning. I'm not defending Mike McCarthy, to be very clear. I just think that we don't have to hyper-focus on things that are pedantic and things that are just kind of made-up narratives. Again, there are legitimate reasons to be upset with Mike McCarthy. There are also legitimate reasons to be impressed by Mike McCarthy. And if you're denying that, I don't think that you're being objective, and I don't think that you're being fair. I think that we can all sit here. Half of the comments here so far are talking about how Jerry Jones should be a free agent and how Jerry Jones doomed the season and blah, blah, blah. Both can exist. Both can exist simultaneously in an objective vacuum. You cannot sit here and tell me Jerry sucks, Jerry's the worst, Jerry's ruining this team, but Mike McCarthy really sucks. Mike McCarthy is the problem. Again, I'm not saying that one exonerates the other, but what I am saying is that you can objectively look at this and identify front office work, if you want to call it that, ownership, involvement. Again, I think I'm being kind of kind with those words here. You can argue that that certainly supersedes and makes difficult the life of whoever the head coach ultimately is. Today, that is Mike McCarthy. But ultimately, that will remain an issue for Mike Vrabel or for John Gruden, I've seen you talking about in the comments, or for Bill Belichick if he somehow shuns Chapel Hill or whatever the case may be, or for Ben Johnson, even if he ultimately were to take this job, if it were to come available. So again, we can sit here and I have no problem with you saying that you want to move on from Mike McCarthy. But what I do think is unfair is to act like it was a complete and total failure of an era and that Mike McCarthy held this team back. I would offer that Mike McCarthy dragged this team to a place of legitimacy that they hadn't reached in a very long time, and that he did a lot of it in spite of what he had to work with, because we can all agree once again that everything around him makes the situation more hazardous and more chaotic and more full of turmoil. So still no Jerry quotes. I mean, my goodness gracious, what's going on here, Jerry? Like, let's get the quotes out, man, because we're trying to talk about this situation. And nope, nothing yet. So Mike McCarthy hugged assistant coaches as they entered the locker room after the game. Haven't seen that before. I mean, that's nice. I don't think that necessarily means anything, but okay, as we wait on more Jerry quotes, if they are going to come, I see you, Just a Fan 94 says, I like Jerry the owner, but not Jerry the general manager. Why? People say this all the time. Why? I mean, I'm legitimately asking, why? What does Jerry the owner do? Like, do you feel like concessions are a great price? I mean, what was the story that we saw a few weeks back about the Phoenix Suns and how hot dogs and beers and everything are like $1 now, or pop bags of popcorn? Like, what does Jerry the owner do? Do we like Jerry? Do we think we like Jerry the owner because he's famous? Because we've heard of him? Because he has a Netflix show? I mean, what is it about Jerry the owner that we like at this point in time? And I'm not here to just say everybody sucks and there's no reason to like anything, but I'm here to, at least, if you're going to say things, ask you to back them up. Because we can't sit here and say things like, well, Mike McCarthy sucks because XYZ, and then vaguely, ambiguously say, well, I like Jerry Jones the owner. Why? What does Jerry Jones the owner offer that you think is making this team better? Because if there's a quality of Jerry Jones that's actually worse than anything, I think it is Jerry Jones the owner. I think Jerry Jones the general manager is obviously not good. We can all agree with that. But Jerry Jones the owner oversteps. Jerry Jones the owner overcomplicates. Jerry Jones the owner doesn't recognize or understand or believe in boundaries. Jerry Jones, the owner, is actually the problem. We just assign it to Jerry Jones, the general manager, because we're sort of used to the conventional manners and definitions of what a general manager does. But the truly, sort of the actual straw stirring the drink, to use the parlance of the group that we're talking about here, is Jerry Jones, the owner. Tony Marone says, ultimately, this is Jerry's fault. Been a fan for 48 years. I'm tired of a team in front office that accepts mediocrity and complacency. It's sickening. Again, what evidence is there of them accepting this? I'm not saying that they aren't these things, but what evidence is there that they're accepting of these things? We're just saying things out loud, people. All right, so here is a quote. Finally, shout out to Fox 4's Mike Ducey, the GOAT. Let me put this on your screen here. Finally parsing through whatever it was Jerry Jones had to say. In post-game comments, in essence, so that's the parsing. Jerry Jones says he hasn't decided on McCarthy, continues to praise him, but says he has yet to determine whether or not a change will be made. Okay, now is the time for me to vamp, for me to go off, for me to get on my soapbox, because now I'm pissed off. All right. By the way, Primal says, what makes Jerry the owner so good? He places scapegoats in the correct places to take the heat off of his prideful, self-centered ego. I agree with that. Okay. So now Jordan Lewis just tweeted, damn, just one word. I don't know what that means, but just so we know. Okay. So we live in a very powerful day and age relative to technology and information. You are watching this show live or after the fact in the Bleacher Report app. I maintain the very best app in the world of sports. It allows me to keep track of all of my favorite sports teams. It allows me to do so many wonderful things, and it allows me to communicate with people like you, which I will be doing every Tuesday and Thursday this year, starting this Tuesday, January the 7th, hopefully in parallel with streaming it on the Block and the Voice YouTube channel if I can get that off the ground. Apologies to the YouTube audience who I uploaded this after the fact for. I really did try. I just messed up. So that being said, we live in a day and age where technology and information is available at our fingertips, right? You can look up, what the cook temperature of salmon is if you're baking it and you forgot. You can look up how to change a flat tire. You can watch a YouTube video on how to do this or how to do that or whatever. You can also keep receipts. It was this past week, when Jerry Jones went on the flagship station of 105.3 The Fan, he said the hay was in the barn, that they'd already made up a decision on Mike McCarthy, all this crap. There were a million things put about it on the internet, blah, blah, blah. You probably got an alert about it here in the BR app, right? We all understand that. And then here on Sunday, January the 5th, Jerry Jones comes out, I just haven't made a decision. It's so difficult. It's so hard. Despite the fact that a few days ago, he literally said that the decision was already made. Despite the fact that they've had an entire calendar year. Seriously, 9 days from now, January the 14th, will mark 1 year since the playoff loss of the Green Bay Packers. Despite the fact that they've had multiple weeks on end now. It's been 14 days, speaking of the number 14, that the Dallas Cowboys have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, which became the case, obviously, after Washington beat the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about that in our stream here in the Bleacher Report after the Cowboys beat the Buccaneers. All of this exists. We have known this forever. So now, again, and this goes back to Jerry, the owner. Why do you think he's great? For him to come out and lie. I mean, that's an actual lie. It is an actual non-truth when you just told us a few days ago that you had made up your mind. All this is a cry and a siren for attention. All this is if I'm parsing through this, if I'm in essencing Mike Ducey's in essence, it's Jerry saying, you are out of your mind if you think that I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with Mike McCarthy before I have to. Because if I do, the song goes away. The crowd leaves. The applause stops. We need the attention. We're not playing next week. That team that just beat us 23-19, they're playing next week. That team in Philadelphia that builds their team 500 times better than us, they're playing next week. All these other teams are playing next week, and they have actual football material for you to talk about. I don't have that. We don't have that. All right? So I can't tell you what I'm going to do with Mike McCarthy, even though I told you last week that the hay was in the barn. The hay is in the barn, but don't look in the barn. Don't you dare look in the barn. The barn is a secret. It's a secret, invisible barn. All right? You cannot know what is in the barn until I, the barn master, deem it appropriate for you to know what is in the barn. All this is the Cowboys trying to ensure that with the actual NFL playoffs going on, with the college football semifinal going on, with the NBA doing whatever it's doing right now, with Alex Bregman or whoever ultimately Justin Verlander signing in Major League Baseball free agency, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys cannot have that be on your mind or on your attention or on your phone browser or your computer screen for even a second. They have to absorb your full and total, complete, absolute attention. So they will not tell you. They will change their mind. They will contradict themselves. They will speak in absolutes. They will speak in these weird limericks and whatever you want to call them with the barn and all this stupid stuff until they have run out of options, until they cannot entertain you anymore. And then they'll start a new controversy, and then they'll delay the Micah extension, or they'll talk about Deron Bland or Tyler Smith, and then it'll be time for the Super Bowl, and all their players will go to the Radio Row car wash. It's exhausting, even though we just lived it. We just lived a full, literal calendar year under the burden and the weight of this anvil that casts a shadow over this franchise that is so powerful that it is actually not that powerful, because if the shadow was so powerful, it would cover up the sun that fights through their stupid stadium window glare. But the shadow is ultimately not that powerful. So Jerry's saying and waxing poetic about how Mike McCarthy is wonderful. Think about how horrible this is. Think about how mean. Actually, it's an actually mean thing to do to Mike McCarthy. And you can tell me that you don't feel for Mike McCarthy and they make millions of dollars and all this kind of stuff. And that's fair on some level. I'm not going to tell you what you should or should not feel. But to just continually leave Mike McCarthy dangling to his staff, these people, they have lives, they have families. And Jerry's telling us a handful of days ago, yeah, we've already made up our mind, Hayes in the barn. And today, I don't know, man. Really don't know. It's just a tough situation. In fact, I haven't read all of this yet, but I'm putting it on the screen anyway because I trust John Machota that much. This is John Machota of the Athletics tweet. I'm reading it to you out loud for the first time. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has not made a decision. Why would he, of course, on the future of the team's head coaching position? When asked about the possibility of other teams wanting to interview Mike McCarthy, Jones said he's fine with that. He said he wants to work with people who want to be here. Jones did make it clear that he will not be giving up his GM title. The offseason is supposed to be a time that we are filled with hope, that we are filled with the emotions and the feelings of opportunity, right? What was is was. What is now. What will is will. I made up that saying right now. It's not a good one. And these quotes make this feel as bad as it's ever felt, right? It makes it feel like, well, they're just never going to learn. They're never going to do anything. It's all going to be the same. We're going to be trapped here, round and round and round we go. We are truly Willy Wonka on the boat, in the tunnel, in the chocolate river. Where we stop, nobody knows. And when will this stop? When will the Cowboys make a decision? At the buzzer, because making a decision in the moment would only help everybody involved and would only be for the purposes of being competitive as a football team. This is a business. This is an entertainment product. This is akin to WWE and Raw making its debut on Netflix tomorrow. This is all about the attention. I see you, Devin McDude, in the comments said enough with the doom and gloom. That game was a blast. I'm glad. I really am. I'm happy you feel that way. That makes me happy. I mean, truly, legitimately. But that being said, the game is over. The season is over. The Dallas Cowboys are done. And we have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. And I'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday in the Bleacher Report app to do that with you at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully on Tuesday, January the 7th, I will have fixed the YouTube side of things and will be operational in that sense. But for now, my friends, I hope you have a very happy New Year, or you had a very happy start to the New Year. I hope the New Year's great, but I hope you had a very happy start in case I didn't see you and get to wish you a proper Happy New Year. Season's over for the Dallas Cowboys. Bring on 2025 so we can do this whole thing again. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. See you next time.